the character of Jim Prideaux, I want to make sure I'm saying his last name correctly.
Right.
He plays a vital role in this story. So what was your approach in playing him? And did you actually read for other parts or just for Jim?
It's funny you should say that. I think initially I read for Peter Gwilym, who is Gary's right-hand man that Benedict Cumberbatch played. But I think they felt that the pairing wasn't as successful as it was with Benedict, and I think that's the truth because.
Right.
In an ironic way, Benedict, who plays Sherlock Holmes on the TV in the UK, is actually Watson to Gary's Holmes, if you like.
It is kind of funny.
And it's a much better relationship. And then Jim Prideaux came along, and I realised that was actually the part that I really wanted to play because he has a journey through the film which isn't afforded necessarily to all of the other characters, in that you see him doing his job. He's a very successful spy, but something goes wrong. Then you see him in the hands of the enemy, and then you see him chewed up and spat out by the machine at the end.
Right.
Having to come to terms with no longer being required.
Now, is the story the biggest attraction for you when choosing a project, or do you hear about the other actors involved and you think to yourself, that's something that I want to be involved with?
There's kind of a checklist of things that you will always want to know. Who's involved? Does the story captivate you? Is the character something you can do something with? And very importantly, who's directing it? Because ultimately, film is a director's medium, and they take it off into the edit and decide what the final film's going to be.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you trust their vision. Then other things come into play: the length of time that you're filming, the location, all of that. And you really just have to make a judgment on the basis of how many of those things are important to you.
Well, how was it working with Tomas as a director? How is he throughout the process?
Wonderful. He's very intelligent, very delicate in the way he handles things. There's no apparent ego there. He's not a shouter. He allows you to do your work in a very comfortable environment. And you know that, allied with the fact that he knows the book inside out and he knows exactly what he wants.
Right.
Means going to work was a joy.
And it's got to be very relaxing for you as an actor, so you don't have the added stress of sort of a hostile work environment, with some in Hollywood.
It's very important that the guy behind the camera is somebody you trust and is your friend, because ultimately they're seeing what you're not seeing, and you need them to be able to give you the right information to play the part properly. Mm-hmm. And he was brilliant at that. He did it almost without me realizing that he was asking me to do certain things.
What kind of research do you do for a role like this? Like what's involved in your preparation before you start shooting? Source
material is the Bible. I mean, obviously the script is the most important thing, because that's the place where everything is said about your character. Your character says everything. You can work out who you are from that. Also, you understand what your job is within the narrative, what your through line is meant to be. So if you're intelligent enough to work out what's required by the script, that's a very good starting point. And then from then on, you need to find... I mean, I did a lot of research on the internet. I'd read a couple of John le Carré's novels, and just was aware, you have an extra sense going on when you're making a film, for example, that's anything to do with spies. Anything in the news that comes up, anything that's around in everyday life is all valuable stuff.
Right. Well, it's a great movie, and we look forward to seeing it on AMC screens. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All the best.